Hi everyone, so today we're going to be taking a look. I hope everyone is having a lovely summer holiday or winter holiday if you're in the southern hemisphere, summer holiday if you are in the northern hemisphere, but I'm hoping everyone is enjoying their break from work or school or whatever. Okay, so today we'll be going through the recent polling data that we've been seeing after the Democratic debates of the 2020 Democratic presidential nomination. As you can see with the current standing former Vice President and former Delaware Senator Joseph Biden still in the lead at 12.3% ahead of his nearest rival right now. He's at 27.3%. As you can see, ever since when he announced he went up, and then ever since then, he's kind of been slipping downwards. After the debates, he's been really dropping bad. Right now, he's at 27.3%, and then what we see here is not great news for Vermont Senator Bernie Sanders. He's pretty much stayed very consistent. 14.6% was his low. Right now he's at 14.9%, but very consistent. But that's not what should be worrying Sanders, because if you're staying consistent, that's normally okay. What should be concerning Senator Sanders is the fact that two women who don't have as much name recognition as him or the former vice president are slowly but surely, well, not necessarily slowly, but they are making their way up in this Democratic field. And right now, it's a very, very close race for second place between California Senator Kamala Harris, who's at 15%, and Vermont Senator Bernie Sanders, who's at 14.9%, which is just 0.1%. So, and then Massachusetts Senator Elizabeth Warren, who's at 13.9%. And I just need to take a little bit of time to look at Massachusetts Senator Elizabeth Warren. She started off when she announced at about 4.7%. Ever since then, yes, she has had some slip-ups, but since about April, she's been slowly but surely making her way up in this crowded Democratic field right now to become a force for second place. She is right now virtually tied with Vermont Senator Bernie Sanders and California Senator Kamala Harris, those three high-profile liberal senators, well, apart from Senator Kamala Harris, but she still is quite liberal. Those three high-profile senators right now in a very close fight for second place. And Joe Biden, not great news for Joe Biden. Bernie Sanders, I must say, not doing, whoops, what's going on? I think there's a refresh there. Okay, yeah, Bernie Sanders, he's been staying relatively consistent after the debates, bypassing this media narrative that Bernie Sanders did horrible in the debates, that, him and Biden, totally messed it up. Whereas actually he's been staying relatively consistent. The thing about Sanders is that I guess the media has something about that. He used to be in a solid second place with Biden, especially before he announced them and Biden were well above the competition, which went Harris, O'Rourke, Warren, Booker, and then Klobuchar. And then Buttigieg. Hang on, was Buttigieg even there? Yeah, and then Buttigieg, and then Castro, Yang, Gabbard, everyone else. But now the field has really shaken, where Joe Biden has a comfortable lead over his competitors, but he is dropping at a rapid rate, and I wouldn't be surprised to see him get in a fight for that second place, along with Harris, Sanders, and Warren. And this is really good for the Democrats. They're having a very competitive primary, and as you can see, we have some of the first dropouts. We've already seen former West Virginia State Senator Richard Ojeda drop out a while ago, but he dropped out before the debates, and he wasn't really taken seriously by the mainstream media. But we could see Eric Swalwell has now dropped out. I wouldn't be surprised by the time I make this video that some other candidates are dropping out. And I think once we get past this second debate, and some of these people from kind of like Klobuchar on, so you have Klobuchar, Bullock, Bennett, Inslee, Gillibrand, Hickenlooper, Williamson, de Blasio, Ryan, Delaney. I wouldn't be surprised at all if after this second debate, if those candidates can't get a moment at that second debate that captivates the news cycle, they're going to start dropping out like flies. That they're gonna be, it's because they know that they won't be able to, without a moment, they won't be able to hit that 2% in the 4 qualifying national polls, and or that 130,000 donor mark. And yes, people like Julian Castro have hit it, and so he could be in the debates, as long as he does that thing as well. But Klobuchar onwards, Klobuchar, Bullock, Bennett, Inslee, Gellibrand, Hickenlooper, Delaney, Ryan, de Blasio, and Williamson, if they can't get a moment, if they can't really stand out at that next debate, they will be dropping like flies in the next, after that second debate in kind of early August. We're going to see this field really whittled down only to the kind of the top 8 or 9 or 10. And then when you get into Iowa, we're going to start to have a top 5 or a top 4 where you're going to kind of see these candidates drop out first, and then you're going to see the Julian Castros, the Tulsi Gabbards, the Andrew Yangs kind of drop out next, and then you kind of have a final 7, and then you're going to see Cory Booker and Beto O'Rourke and Pete Buttigieg drop out. Unless something drastically changes, these will likely be your top 4 people who are most likely going to be the Democratic nominee, being Joe Biden, Kamala Harris, Bernie Sanders, and Elizabeth Warren. But again, anything can change. We were saying, Beto O'Rourke had a shot a few months ago. Right now, he's at 2.7%. He really should drop out ASAP after this next debate, along with most of these other guys who really don't have a chance. But Eric Swalwell now is out of the race. I do think that the Democrats just have a few too many candidates right now. But it looks like there's going to be some tiebreakers in this next debate. I am really looking forward. I've watched both debates. I've watched both of the Democratic debates. Overall, for me, I think that in the first debate, I think everyone kind of thinks that the big winners there were Massachusetts Senator Elizabeth Warren. Some people disagree with me on this one, but I think that both Cory Booker did surprisingly well, much better than I thought. And I also thought that Julian Castro did surprisingly well. And apart from him getting 3% in this ABC News Washington Post poll, he hasn't really stood out in the polls. He's remained at 1% and 0%. So maybe the general electorate does not agree with me that Julian Castro did surprisingly well at this debate, but I thought that he did surprisingly well at the Democratic debate. So in night 1, I see Elizabeth Warren and Julian Castro, Cory Booker, and surprisingly Bill de Blasio I thought was quite good. His interruptions were pretty annoying at times, but he got his message out there. And while he didn't exactly create a memorable moment, he did have a few kind of semi-moments, like when he went after Beto O'Rourke, multiple occasions he went after Beto O'Rourke on healthcare, and also, I believe, on immigration. I'll need to rewatch the debate to make sure. But okay, so in the first debate, your winners are Elizabeth Warren. Another winner, I could say, is Julian Castro. Those are kind of the 2 big winners, and then in the next tier below, you have Cory Booker and Bill de Blasio. And then the rest of the candidates didn't really stand out. I mean, Tulsi Gabbard had one moment, and Tulsi Gabbard supporters say, as soon as the debates come, Tulsi Gabbard's going to shot up in the polls. But if you can see her, it's too far below to actually see her actual line because she's so far down. But Tulsi Gabbard has not really risen in the polls. Yes, she was at 0.6%, and now she's at 1.1%. But 0.6 and 1.1% don't necessarily mean the best for a candidate, and yes, she has been gaining consistently at 1% in some recent polls. 1% is just not enough to get a nomination. 1% is really, and people are saying Julian Castro and Amy Klobuchar have no chance, and these are the same people who are supporting people like Tulsi Gabbard and Andrew Yang, who really don't have a chance in their own right. And so I really, Tulsi Gabbard and Andrew Yang supporters are prominent. They're prominent on online, on YouTube, on Instagram, on Twitter, but just with the general electorate, they don't seem to be getting much traction at all. And so Tulsi Gabbard and Andrew Yang, also very prominent on my channel, so I won't be surprised if I get some comments down below saying that, after the second debate, it's going to be Tulsi Gabbard. After the second debate, it's going to be Andrew Yang. Then when the second debate happens, it's going to be the third debate and the fourth debate, if they actually qualify for those debates. But yes, first debate, we have your winners would be Elizabeth Warren and Julian Castro. In the next tier, you're going to have Julian Castro and Bill de Blasio, and then in the next tier, you're kind of going to have your Tulsi Gabbard and your, Tulsi Gabbard. Maybe you could include someone like an Amy Klobuchar, and then the rest of them are really not notable at all. Tim Ryan and John Delaney, and Beto O'Rourke, definitely a loser in that debate, definitely not gaining the traction that he desperately needs at this point for his campaign. He really needs to drop out and run for Senate. But Beto O'Rourke, a big loser in that debate, along with John Delaney, I would classify as the two biggest losers. Okay, moving on to the second debate, the more high-profile debate with 4 out of the top 5 candidates, 3 out of the top 4 candidates, and has the two biggest names, Bernie Sanders and Joe Biden. So definitely a more high-profile debate. We think that Joe Biden is definitely a loser in this debate. That's reflected by the polling. I see Bernie Sanders. It's not necessarily reflected by the polling, but I thought that Bernie Sanders was actually a winner in that second debate. Mainstream media says he's a loser. That's not reflected by the polls. They often use polling as an example to say, in 2016, Bernie Sanders, doesn't have a chance. Now they seem to be ignoring it when it's working in Bernie Sanders' favor, so I thought I'd point that out. Okay. I thought Bernie Sanders was a winner in the second debate. I thought Joe Biden was a loser in the second debate, but the biggest winner, I also thought out of the top 4, Biden and Buttigieg were losers, and then Bernie Sanders a narrow win. So, sorry, I think I'm getting confused here. Joe Biden is a big loser. Pete Buttigieg, I think, narrowly lost the debate. Bernie Sanders narrowly won the debate, and Kamala Harris is the big winner of that debate. And then pretty much all the other candidates failed to have a real breakout moment. I mean, Eric Swalwell maybe, but he's just dropped out, so he's pretty irrelevant. But then the rest of them, I'm just thinking Kirsten Gillibrand, you have an Andrew Yang, all of these people not necessarily all that impressive on that debate stage. So those are your big winners and losers. That's the polling data. And I hope to see everyone here in the next video. Comment down your suggestions below. And I'll be doing a lot more polling updates since the headline of this video is going to be Kamala Harris, Bernie Sanders, and Elizabeth Warren all fighting for that second place spot, with Kamala Harris really coming up and Elizabeth Warren continuing her steady incline. Elizabeth Warren increasing her support by about the same margin, and then Bernie Sanders staying very consistent, Kamala Harris shooting up, and Joe Biden really slipping down, and right now he's at 27.3, Harris at 15, Sanders at 14.9, Warren at 13.9, and then Buttigieg really has seemed to slip in the since the debates. So June 26, we could see after the debates he has been slipping, and that's a problem that his campaign is going to need to solve. Thank you for watching this video, everyone. I hope you continue to have an amazing day if you are, and I hope that your day becomes amazing. So yeah, thank you for watching. Good night.